I actually started this research years ago, many years ago, when I was a banker in San Francisco. And during those years, I read a couple of books, actually, that, for lack of a better word, woke me up. One was called The Wall Street Gang. It was written by a Los Angeles money manager named Richard Nye. And he exposed how specialists, which are people that operate within the stock exchange and make a market for stocks, basically control the U.S. stock market, the New York Stock Exchange, by manipulating stocks. And the realization for me at that point was, those markets are controlled. And in fact, I followed his technology, or at least his advice, and watched the Dow Jones, and then was able to kind of predict. You go, okay, good, well, it's going up, it's going down because of these factors. And those factors traced back to individuals that were controlling things within the stock market. There was a second book I read a little bit after that called, has the kind of corny title of How to Make the Stock Market Make Money for You. It's written by a guy named Ted Warren. That book is out of print, but is available, I think, at Amazon. And Warren as well demonstrated statistically how stocks and commodity markets are completely controlled. So this was just additional data to go, okay, so the markets are controlled. And much of that control comes from the press, it comes from the media, it comes from PR. So those people kind of pulling the strings have enough control over the media that all of a sudden you'll see, positive press on something in particular, and, it goes up or whatever. I began reading the press from the viewpoint of what is it that they're trying to accomplish here. And shortly after that, I started following the machinations of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. These are international banking organizations, financial organizations that were created after the Second World War. The war actually wasn't over. They were created in 1944 at a meeting at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, to kind of put a financial structure in place for the planet following the war. And these organizations were kind of somewhat benign for the first few years of their existence. And they grew and became nothing less than global financial thugs. And I followed them through the years. In the 90s, I began writing about them, just some articles, to try and expose what they were doing, how they were indenturing the planet. They would create currency crisis in a particular country, usually a third world country. The currency crisis, meaning the value of the currency would be pushed down, would be degraded. That would create economic chaos in the country. Sometimes there'd be riots. And then, having had somebody create the currency crisis, the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank, or both of them, these two sisters of the financial apocalypse, would come riding in on a white horse and go to the dictator or to the premier or to the president, gee, you having a problem here? Can we help? Would 5 or 10 billion be of any help? And, the guy would wipe the drool off his face and go, who would control the funds? Oh, you would, Mr. President. Okay. Yeah, I'm interested. They say, what would the repayment terms be? Oh, very easy, interest only. Oh, okay, good. Just sign here. And they would give the guy a loan document to sign, guy or woman, usually a guy. And these loan documents, a copy of which I got hold of, I read the loan agreement between the IMF and Mexico after a currency crisis in Mexico. And you wouldn't believe these things, the amount of control of social policy they have, of agriculture, of tax policy. Some of the loan agreements call for the control of family planning and contraception. In other words, the loan agreements give the bank basic control over the social policies of the nation. And I read this thing and I went, whoa. They create the crisis. then they get these guys signed up. Well, about 3/4 of the planet were on these kinds of loan agreements. Eastern Europe, South America, Africa, and the operation here in the United States followed that general scenario. And that's how I came to it. When I read the article by Timothy Geithner, again, then president of the New York Fed, who went, you know what, we need a global monetary authority here. We need a financial dictator for the planet. I'm like, oh, this is the final move. This is it. And that's what prompted the research.